Mr. Kwok's not here, so we might actually get out of here on time here. Don't tell him my
It's like second that comment. A few quick comments. Just following up on the SEIU staffing issue, I would really like to see that resolved. I think one of the things that troubles me is when whether you see a company or an organization downsize and expect more of their workers to shoulder some of the work. I'm confident in our staff's ability to work with SEIU to figure out the proper amount of staffing so people aren't being overburdened. Disappointed to hear that again. I want to thank the district and staff members for all the hard work in the state of the district. Annie, thank you for holding down the fort for us. It's a good opportunity to reflect on all the hard work that all of our employees do and our students. I just want to congratulate you on your first one and congratulate the staff on what was a successful event. So I've been thinking a lot about like my time here on the board, and 4 years, I guess it'll be 5 technically, goes by pretty fast. And it's interesting to see kind of the things that create I think tension in the system or amongst the community, the governing body, and really at the heart of it, it's change, right? It's hard to see for some folks. It's hard to experience change whether you welcome it or whether it's unwelcome. And the nature of dissent here is all simply based on perspective and change. Just in the small time I've been here, we passed a bond. Some of the infrastructure is being built. We're looking for a new superintendent, and we're moving to district elections. District elections it is interesting that it did come to our district so late. The irony is the CVRA states it's based on the ethnic composition, right? But if you go back and so you look at the composition of our board, it's actually pretty much in line. But the language goes further and it takes a historical perspective. And in that sense, of course, it's a very positive thing. I'm really optimistic about what it can hold. It'll fundamentally change everything about our district. And it seemed like that's great that we passed it 4-0. I think it's going to be great for the district. And in the next 20 years, long past, I'm sure, even my time on this planet, it'll persist. And I think that I'm proud to have cast a vote in favor of it, and proud to be a part of the change that's happened in these 5 years, even though it's made folks uncomfortable at times. And with that, I want to end it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Notori.
Yes. Happy birthday, Mr. Kwok. I do want to say I met a past board member, I want to say about a week and a half ago. Ken Manning, yes. So he actually said hello to Mark. So I had a chance to talk to him.
His dad's on the wall over there.
Oh, really?
So Ken is on the wall.
No, yes. And he's that too. Wow.
Oh, my dad.
I want to congratulate Ms. Bowie on the state of the district. I think it was a beautiful event. I want to thank everybody that participated in it. Also, the youth mental health first aid course. I hope to see it next year, and hope I'll try to be there if it's at a time that I can attend it. I want to thank Wilson High School also for hosting the Science Olympiad Invitational. I think it's very important that we promote our district and we show them that science is very important to our students. Looking forward to the LA County Elementary, which I believe is in March. And so we'll be inviting schools from all over the state to come over to Wilson. I want equity for all, and sometimes change is good. Sometimes it makes us feel uncomfortable, like my colleague here said, but it's okay, if we know we're doing it with good intention. HLPUSD family, I'm here to serve you, and I wanna thank you for your hard work in serving all of our students, and, good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delatorre. Dr. Chang.
Okay,
Concise. You don't get to make up for missing the last meeting.
it's a very, I have very, mixed feeling, about it. It's, those comments. First of all, what's wrong with, so many people likes me to be on the board? And, last election, I got more than 13,000 votes. Okay, and if you add all, just supposedly, okay, everybody, all the Asian people voted for me, I cannot reach to 30,000 votes. No way, we don't have that many votes. Now, what's wrong with it? People like me. I don't understand. I like people like me, and it's a wrong thing to have that. I don't understand. And when I first, came out to run this school board, is because I feel that our ethnic group are discriminated. And that time, I think I saw Yvonne Garcia was here that time. That time I really support her bilingual education, and I understand that those people, they have difficulties, including these Chinese people. They come to this country, they've been discriminated because their language skills not good enough. And you can see, even my wife, holding my child and went to the office and got intimidated by the office managers, and she cried to come back home. That made me make a decision. I'm going to run the school board. I don't let any discrimination happen in our school district. And I'm a teacher. I give the grade to my students, all based on their merit and the performance, and how hard they try. I never tell whether they are this ethnic group versus the other ethnic group. I have thousands of students through my class. I have a color blind. I never tell their color. And that really frustrates me. Like, I give the scholarship to the whole school district. I never, when I select the candidate, the recipient, I never distinguish them from one ethnic group from another ethnic group. And this comment really like an insult to me. We are all American. We live in this world. We take care of your kids. We treat all the kids are the same. We encourage all the kids to study hard. We want them to be successful in studying. Doesn't matter what ethnic group. Why you have this kind of comment? I don't understand. I give a scholarship to everybody. And when I first came out, I fight for this kind of discrimination act. And why you made a comment on based on the racism, created the confrontation, separated the community. That's not right. That's not right. We should work together, not to based on the ethnic group, use the racism to criticize one person or another. If you don't have any actual evidence. I have been on the board for 27 years. I never got this comment until today. I'm so disappointed. And another one is about the communication. This communication cards in here, and there's a requirement. Hopefully you can ask the questions through the administrators first, then come to the school district, and then come to the school board if the issue cannot be resolved. And all the schools, they offer the course are based on the school site council and the principal. They work together and they decide what are the courses best fit for students. If not the school district's the unilateral decision which school should offer what courses. So if you feel that your school do not offer those courses as needed, you should talk to the principal first and see what the answer the principal give to you. If you are not satisfied with the principal's answer, you can come to the school district, talk to the superintendent, or come to talk to the board if the superintendent cannot resolve your issues. And I'm so glad to see the BB Bond presentation, and it is very clear and very easy to understand. So I think this BB Bond is on the schedule and within the budget. So I'm very happy to see that one. And last week, there's Wilson High School. They have Mesa and Wilson is jointly having the Science Olympia, and I believe they have extended the invitation to all the high schools and to all the middle schools, but not that many of all high school or middle school participate that one. And this event is very, very useful and very important. There's two things. One thing is we really need to spend some time to develop our to emphasize on the science curriculums, because the science is a course of integrated of technologies, integrated what a student has learned. It includes the language arts, include the math, of course, include the history, and include the society. And so this course is the evidence that whether our schools they put how much emphasis on the students' learning. The second thing in here is give you an opportunity to see what other school students are doing. Make a comparison. Don't think that we are the best. And here you see the competition. If you shy away, hide your head into the earth like the oceans, right? Hide it. You'll never get the progress. Encourage all the schools to try to participate in this competition. It is really good competition. It is a good measurement of the school science programs. And the science program is a good measurement of our students' learning. And I think like that. I wish everybody have a happy New Year. Chinese New Year is
It's coming up, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Dr. Chang.
You're welcome.
Okay, so first off, again, I want to congratulate all the staff that we approved the raises for today. Again, I mean it. I know I think the whole board means it when we say you work really hard and you deserve it, and we appreciate all that you do for our district and for our students and for our community. So congratulations and thank you guys again. I want to congratulate Annie on a successful state of the district. It's never easy to stand in front of an audience. I don't like doing it. I know Annie doesn't like doing it, but she did a great job, and I never knew Annie was so funny. So great job, Annie. We really enjoyed your state of the district, and I know that took a lot for you to get up there and do that, and we, as a board, really appreciate that, and I know I really appreciate that. I want to thank the HLPUSD for being here, for speaking out. I know you guys have been fighting this good fight for many years. You know, I'm proud to be only one of 3 board members from the La Puente area, but I'm also sad to say that I'm only one of 3 board members from the La Puente area from the history of our school district, and one of the few Latinos elected into the school district. We're seeing improvements on that, but it's sad, but I think this is the right direction we're heading. It's long overdue. I look forward to the process and how we make the districts look to make sure that not just the Latino community, but all the communities represented equally throughout Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. It's to be a very interesting process, but I know we will get through it as a community. It's the right thing to do, and I appreciate my board in supporting it. Again, I mentioned earlier, I tried to do this a couple years ago. We didn't have the support, but now we have it, and I thank you guys for voting to move in this direction. It's the right thing to do. And I will say publicly, I do believe that California should have ethnic studies in all our high school districts. It should be a course required for graduation. I believe in that, and we need to do that. And then lastly, just the comments we heard today. And if you don't call it out, you are complicit in it. It's not okay to say I'm not racist, but I'm getting to become a racist. It's not okay for anyone to ever say that here on the dais, here at the community. And if the entire board cannot call that out for what it is, there's something wrong. And so we as a board need to say it out loud, say it's not acceptable to come to our board meetings and say that. I apologize to Dr. Chang, to Mr. Kwok, but everyone in the audience, everyone in our community, that was wrong. And if we don't call it out, then you're accepting it. So, I hate commenting on our community members. I always appreciate that they come down here and take time to speak, but when there's something wrong, you need to call it out. So, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask for a personal point of privilege?
Yes.
I just, I have things written down, and I just really needed to echo that, because it was literally MLK Day on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to have made all the progress that we have made, you can disagree on policy, you can disagree on issues, but I think I felt everyone's stomach drop when we heard that comment. So I don't think any of us up here at all affirms any of those things, and I just wanted to be on the record saying that. So again, I apologize, Dr. Chang, because I thought when you were speaking, I would feel like if I was in your shoes, and I just wanted to make that statement. So thank you, Mr. President, with that.
No problem. Motion adjourned.
No motion.
A motion by Mr. Madrano, a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Del Torre. Any discussion? Seeing none, all fair say aye. Aye. Motion passes 4-0. We are adjourned at 9:27.
It's encouraging to see people so engaged and enthused about this process. And I just want to, I'll keep it short.
Do you have a mic? I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. No, probably me. I just said I wanted to thank everyone for coming out and putting in their input. I'll keep it short because I heard two really great quotes tonight that I think could be good pillars to guide us through this process of drawing of maps, and that they're to pull on our collective strengths as a district and to be unified in our diversity. And I hope that those core values guide us through this process, and I really want to tip my cap to Enrique Ochoa for giving me those lines, because they really synthesize, I think, what should be reflected in this process. With that, I conclude my remarks. Mr. Doherty's gone, so.
I guess it falls to me.
It falls to you.
So thank you, Mr. Madrano. Now, Mr. Del Torre, you're up next.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for everybody this year. I think it's important that your voice be heard, and we are listening. We are listening. I feel that having a trustee or mini districts, I guess, these maps, I think it's a good direction in having our communities be represented. I do have a concern about the internet. I do want all of our laptops and everything that we have purchased, I want them to be used. What good is it to say we gave them to you and then if they're not being used? So also work within the city, maybe the city of La Puente, to have like little hub spots, where they can actually, students can have access to internet. I think it's very important if we can look into that. When I was elected to represent the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District. And to make sure that all of our students get the best quality of education. Now, I know there was some comments made in regards to, are you from Belinda or are you from La Puente? I live in Hacienda Heights, but my experiences by education and my background, I can tell you that I'm here to represent everyone. I have been very fortunate to visit all of our school sites. I do have a day job, which is being in education, which is very difficult, sometimes because I can't just leave my work and then continue here. But I try my very best to leave by 4. I try to do my work. I bring a lot of work home too, so I'm not done. I can tell you I go home right now and I'm going to continue. But that's the life of an educator. I love my profession, and I wish we can come up with the best map available. And I know when I saw the maps, it's like, there was a map that was like, oh, there's 2-3 candidates, that live around that area, which makes it very difficult because, they're really good people, good candidates, and to go against them, it would be very difficult. But that doesn't mean that I'm not in it. That I ran my campaign out of my own pockets. Let me tell you, and it wasn't easy. I ran 2 previous times, and the third one was a charm. So that's why I'm here. I do listen. It's not that I'm being disrespectful. A lot of the things, we just need to absorb, and then we have the discussions behind closed doors. And sometimes it's not all, smiles, and but we have to work with respect, and we try to do that at every meeting. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Del Torre. Mr. Fox?
Thank you very much. I've always enjoyed seeing people come to our meetings, so I was very pleased to see somebody who indicated that it was here for the first time. I think that's a great thing. And democracy is never easy. And Churchill himself said that democracy is the worst form of government except for every other form of government that's ever existed. So I welcome that. And every day that I've had a privilege, and it's the greatest privilege in my life to serve the school district, is that I serve each and every student. And that's why I go to the schools. That's why I'm really happy when I give a scholarship. I give it to every high school band, and every middle school. So these type of things matter a great deal to me. Just like the Spanish Dual Immersion Program, which is the program which I actually proposed way back when we didn't have it at that time. So I'm very pleased about that. And it's always been a hard juggle, really, for me to do this, because I do have a job. And I have a lot of responsibility. I'm an attorney, and a lot of times I'm in court. And so I also have a child, and who comes to this school. I went to this school district, all the way from elementary to middle. We call it junior high back then, to high school. And I was able to do what I'm able to do because of this school district. My only child goes to this school district. And there are times where I can't see my kid. Like tonight, she has a very big meeting. It's a mandatory meeting for her band. I can't be there because I'm here. And many times I can't tuck her into bed because I'm here. But I know my responsibilities to the school district. I embrace that. And beyond that, I'm on the CSBA board, which is a state association. And so I was there this weekend talking about diversity, talking about eliminating bias in the school district, led by a professor from Morehouse University. And we must have had a lot of training. I would say over 15 hours of training. So all these things matter a lot. And we're also on the equity cohort in the entire state of California. I'm there with Mr. Duarte. So I'm going to this thing and flying in and driving and everything else. And Mr. Duarte is going to Sacramento doing the equity. So we think about this all the time, and we don't get a paycheck. One time somebody thought that we earned 6 figures. I went to an event, somebody said, I think we get what, $300 as a stipend or something like that. So, and I know that I put in at least 20 to 30 hours a month for this because you want to be prepared. So I care incredibly. And also, when I'm here, just like I'm in court, if we're in a trial, I take notes on my computer. I think that what you say is so important that I want it here. So everybody who went up there, I have copious notes because I want to go back and take a look at what you said because it's so important to me regarding that. The computer aspect of it, I think it's important to note, is that we, for the first time in history, have had one-to-one computers in our classrooms. Plus, we have provided a internet capability to families that don't have internet access. And so, we promote that. Can we do better? We can always do better. But the point is that we are doing that and providing internet access and caring about the issues that our parents and community do in fact care about. So in terms of the access to whatever we're doing, I'm always in favor of that. I think that, you know, the more we can do it, the better. Whether it be in every other form or platform, I think it's a good thing. And information is good for everyone. And I think that today, when we usually have 3 minutes and we say we have 5 minutes, we actually had no time limit, if you think about it, right? So again, I think that's a very positive step in that direction. You know, the one thing that I will say when we talk about all the diversity and so forth, I will add one other diversity I think is important, is geographic diversity. So, you know, we talk about this and we talk about that. I think geographic diversity is also something that is in fact very, very important. I'm glad to see that we also have a lot of outreach in terms of parents, and we have a lot of programs that go in and do that. You know, whatever we can do to continue the process and embrace everyone's participation, I'm certainly in favor of that. And you know, we have tremendous leadership also, not only in our community, our parents, education, but we have very good employees here. We have great unions, we work together here, we have great administrators, we have just a tremendous staff. And the one aspect about this, if you take a look at our vision as well as our mission statement, is, you know, we all work together in order to do the best that we can in order to go ahead and provide the best possible education for our kids. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Block. First, I want to thank our presenter for being here today to give the community and the board the information regarding the process of moving into trustee districts. Again, a reminder, if you want this will be online. If you want a hard copy, go ahead and contact the district, and the district will be happy to get you a hard copy as well. It's a lot of good information here. Again, we appreciate you for being here and walking us through this, because it's new for us as a board. And I know we had a lot of questions, but I know the community had a lot of questions, and they still have a lot of questions, so it's important to get those answers to the community. So thank you for that. I want to thank all the community members who are here. It's always nice to see a full audience here that care about Hacienda La Puente and the community that they live in. This is an important step to move forward for our school districts. As I mentioned before, I tried to do this, I think it was like 5 years ago. We didn't move forward on it, so I'm glad that we're finally moving forward on it. It's the right thing to do for representation throughout Hacienda La Puente. We are going to be having some tough meetings, and we encourage you guys to continue to come to our meetings and provide your input. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about keeping school area schools together. We're broken up in quadrants. You know, we have to look at that. We want to look at a bunch of things when we finally come up with this decision, but we want the community's input. So that's why we are having these meetings. We have 3 more coming up, and we're probably going to be adding 1 more. Someone, I think it was Mr. Maldonado, mentioned a Saturday meeting. Right now we don't have one, but we do have our parent symposium and our teen symposium coming up in March, that we are going to make this a component of those symposiums. So when we have those students and parents there, we can work with them on that as well. So again, if your neighbor's not here, if you know another parent, somebody who really wants to provide their input, again, you know, these meetings are to come here and tell us what you want the districts to look like, not for us to tell you what the districts are going to look like. So please come here and let us know and continue to do that. And again, you don't have to wait for the board meetings. You can do it online. I know you don't like to hear that, but you can do it online, but you can also call the district as well. You come here in the district and give information to the district office, and we'll be happy to answer any of those questions that we can answer. You know, there are some legal parameters of what these districts are going to look like, and I know, you know, if we don't follow those legal parameters, we're going to be hearing from Mr. Perez. So believe me, we're going to be complying with the law. This isn't just, you know, we get to carve out our own districts and decide what they look like. There are legal parameters, whether it's the California Voting Rights Act or the Federal Voting Rights Act that we have to comply with. So please know that we are going to be complying with the law when we come up with whatever these future districts look like. But again, the most important voice is not, the most important voice is your voice. So please continue to come here when the maps are coming out. Please come provide inputs on the maps. That's the most important thing I can tell you, and we'll continue doing better outreach. Thank you, Ms. Caldera, for bringing that up, and we will continue to get the information out there to the community, because, you know, I wish every board meeting was like this, and community members were here and engaged and holding us accountable. Because at the end of the day, yes, you vote us in, you can vote us out, but come here and hold us accountable. Yeah, I know sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't agree, but I never mind a community member standing right there to hold us accountable, because that's your job as a community member, and our job is to listen to you as a board member. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Clark, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. McDonald. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned.
Thank you for participating tonight.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. You set the tone perfectly. Sorry.
Thank you so much for everyone being here, and I appreciate your input, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Del Torre. Mr. Clark.
So I actually have a very big incentive to disappoint Mr. Duarte, but regardless, thank you for everyone for being here. I appreciate the presentation, I appreciate the information, I appreciate the engagement. Looking forward to great things in the school district. Thank you very much.
I also want to thank you again for being here to present and answer our community's questions. I want to thank the community for being here and providing input. It's a very exciting time in Hacienda de la Fuente. And again, we want to remind everyone that we do have laptops set up. Actually, we have laptops right now set up in the lobby if anyone wants to be helped, assisted with looking at, as Mr. Diaz says, www.hlpschools.org/CVRA. Please look to that for updated information. And always feel free to call the district as well. The district wants to answer any questions that the community might have. So now it's off to the exciting part. We're going to get the maps, a couple preliminary maps drawn, get those out to the community to get your inputs. And I'm excited to see what some of those maps are going to look like. Please look at the time. And
Thank
I'll be at
you.
the airport at 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Mr. President, now knowing that information, I'm definitely going to look at the time. You know, I want to really do something really quick about courage. Mr. Gino Kwok, for the first time, rescinded pulling an item at tonight's board meeting agenda, and I just want to thank you so much for doing that for all of us here. Thank you. Okay, but now to be more seriously. We had a young student named Adriana come speak about some of her sixth grade teachers were here and how wonderful of a job they've done and made her successful, which was pretty interesting because I had my sixth grade teacher here, and I wanted to, Miss Danny Tucker, who's now gone, and I totally agreed with what she said. I think that you know, as board members, you know, our positions here are to be accountable to the people who elect us and the taxpayers who put us here. And you know, when you get onto any new job or any new school district, you quickly kind of pick up on what are cultural norms or what's the culture of the organization that you're at. And I gotta say, within the last year, I feel like within, you know, our district, we've really seen a lot of progress in how we either get ahead of problems before they become litigated, discuss them openly, you know, before we get here, and try to meet things head on. We're never going to be in agreement on things. I think oftentimes what we do, whether it's here on this side being on the board or, you know, being part of the administration, a central quality is to have thick skin and to be, you know, selfless. I think that the irony is, if you are someone who's ego-driven, more often than not, and I'm not saying this is a reflection of anyone here, you wind up being CEOs, politicians, and unfortunately, that sometimes comes with other personality quirks that incentivize folks to be petty, to look for wins and losses based on slights that they've had from folks in what's naturally a combative, can be seen as a combative dynamic, whether it's with a labor organization or sometimes constituency groups. And I've been really proud of some of the things we've done to work to neutralize that, whether it's with interest-based bargaining or some of the labor management collaboration. And I just gotta say, if there is any employee, and this is a general statement, who is furthering a game of gotcha, a game of wins or losses, you know, that's not something that I, as a board member, would condone. I think we've worked really hard at making sure leadership here doesn't condone those kinds of transactions. And I think that what's important for us to do is to make sure that we're constantly having those conversations with our labor representatives, whether it's SCSEA, SEIU, or the teachers. Because if there's one thing that I know is and Mr. Billy Joe touched on it, is that there is a lot of faith in the facts that we present to you all, and there's some sort of common ground. And although maybe we may not agree, if the rules are the rules, it's black and white. And I think I've known everyone here to negotiate in good fashion. And if that's not something that's going on, you know, that's a problem. You know, I think that the health committees need to be happening. I think the safety and health of our employees and students is paramount. You know, I just really want to actually thank Mr. Billy for his speech today. It was probably one of the best ones I've heard in a while. It was pretty good. It was pretty powerful.
Yes.
He had my attention the entire time, like I was a kid in a classroom. I want to make one more comment. The cafeteria worker thing, that has been a source of frustration. I've said it each time for about a year now. We speak about things that become frustrating, but this is one of them. I really want to see that resolved. I know Mr. Billy Joe spoke about something about the 1/6 part about teachers not being paid. I mean, you know, this whole cafeteria worker thing, if we have employees that are pulling in more labor because we just haven't found, you know, employees that fill the spot, like the thing I hate sometimes is you'll see in the public sector, jobs get cut and they don't fill them because they want people to take on more work. That's not okay. That's something that I don't condone. So I was glad last meeting that you said there's been progress. I'm disappointed that we've taken a few steps back, but I have complete faith in everyone to fix it. Hopefully it's not a year, because I think that that's a problem, especially if you're willing to pick up the phone and fix it. Lastly, I had some really sad news relayed to me, I think about this week. There was a teacher who really was an institution when I was growing up. His name was Rick Freeze. Mr. Freeze taught at Orange Grove. He taught my cousins at Orange Grove over there. You know, they're like 20 years older than I am. He was just, I mean, he just made going to the Orange Grove so special. When you were in elementary school, you couldn't wait to get there because you were going to get to interact with him. He was a basketball coach. He actually went to UCLA on a football scholarship, blew out his knee and got cut. I tried to walk onto the basketball team and got cut. He was like the 13th man on the 12-man roster. So he knew John Wooden personally. He always espoused his principles to any of his students or his players on his teams. He's been retired for some time, but he was just, again, talk about a fantastic teacher. He was a Civil War buff. I was really lucky when I was in 8th grade. I got to go on his East Coast field trip, and he took us across the East Coast. I got to see Gettysburg. You know, I'd never left Hacienda Heights up until that point, and I couldn't have gone with a better tour guide. Anytime I see someone that I knew at Orange Grove, I mean, he's one of these teachers we talk about, and so he coached at Los Altos forever too, so he's really well known there. So I'd like to really adjourn in his memory in this meeting for a brief moment of silence. We could do that. And with that, Anthony, I hope you have a tough time waking up in the morning. I'm done.
Wake him up.
Billy, make sure of that.
I'll call you, wake you up.
I'll wake him up. Joyce is up at 4.
Oh, yeah, that's
3:30. She'll be waking
Thank
us
you,
all up.
Joyce. Thank you, Joyce. Sky.
First of all, thank you to everybody that's here. I apologize. I know we're all tired, exhausted. But because we love our profession, we care about our kids, I know we're still trying to hold it. Just real quick, it's sad to hear that we have Teachers of the Year. We have highly talented, skilled teachers that are devoted. And to hear that they're still 10th after 2-3 years, it's devastating. It's awful. So we need to go back and say, you know what, if they've had a good evaluation, they've done amazing things, we wanna keep these teachers. We don't want them to go to another district. We deserve them here in our district. So we really need to look into that, and not wait years for it. We need to sit down seriously and do what's best for our kids. Next thing I would like to do is, I wanna listen to our students, our middle school students and all of our 5 high schools. And I want to send them an invitation. If you would be so kind, Ms. Bowie, or whoever can do this for me. I myself, as I'm sure many of my colleagues here, or board members, I would love to sit down with them and listen to their concerns. I love hearing all these beautiful celebrations, everything that is going on from the school board representatives. But if I can meet with school site council or any, I would love to sit down and listen to them. Because they will tell me not just the goodness of their school, but also what we lack on, what we need to do to provide them with a better education experience. So I myself, the only thing I ask, I do work, but if there's any events, you know, if it's after school, you know, during sports, if they can say, Mr. Doctor, we would like to invite you to our multi-purpose room or to this, and just listen to our concerns, I'll be more than happy to do so. I want to make my decisions not just on, you know, the adults, which is, you know, very important, but also our students that we're serving. So with that in mind, thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate everything that all of you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody who's here. We all know that this is a democracy, and democracy takes time. I remember when I had some people who had asked me to think about running because they thought that I would make a positive impact on this community. Since I did go through this school district and lived here my entire life and was an immigrant here from El Salvador, and then now, fortunately, my wife was able to accept my proposition of staying here because she wanted to live somewhere else, and I prevailed upon her. But when this thing happened, I had to tell these people who said, hey, you know, you'd be very good and positive for this community is, it's not just me, you gotta talk to my family, right? Because it's gonna have a big impact on my family. And I told my family immediately it was gonna have an impact on my income, for sure. I'm a lawyer, right? So I go out there, I do what I do, right? I don't have a salary, I have cases. But what I didn't know at that time was the unbelievable amount of time that I would have to spend doing this. I read laws all the time. I read cases. I read everything that comes to our school district. Everything, every bit of information. I look up statutes, I look up regulations, I look at case law. And by being on CSBA's board of directors, I have an insight to them. So I talk to their in-house counsel. I talk to the general counsel. I do all these things. And then beyond CIF, I do that. Not because of me, because I know from that standard and that position, I can make our school district better. I cannot even begin to tell you how much time I've missed with my daughter. When my daughter started doing this, she was 4 years old, maybe 5. Now she just turned 14, and then somebody reminded me she's not a girl anymore, and I hate to admit it, that's true, right? But I've already missed her tonight. I'm gonna miss her some more because I gotta go to Sacramento on the March 4th. I wanna be there unless I'm in Sacramento, because I know I gotta go to Sacramento. But this is what we do, and we do this because we wanna make a difference to make our community better. This is not about me. So I sit here and I listen to all this stuff, and this is what I tell my kid. You make a mistake, that's fine. I tell you go ahead and do that, or whatever the case may be, or a client of mine, right? Second time it's okay. But how often are we gonna make the same mistake and not correct it? Let's take a look at the cafeteria situation. How often have we talked about this, yet we don't have a resolution, right? Now, no one is saying or making a judgment based upon the merits. What we're saying is, why can't we sit down and figure this thing out, right? In terms of the process. Now let's take a look at this other situation. So, I've been to so many events for the very reason what Mr. Delatorre said, because I want to see what's going on in my district myself. I'm not going to have somebody else tell me what's going on. I see it for myself. So go ahead to the school site council, you'll learn a lot with respect to that. I've been to these meetings, I talked to these parents. Believe me, when you're out there, they're not gonna tell you everything is rosy and cheery. They'll tell you something else, which is fine, because I wanna hear this. So I'm out there, and I'm meeting with a bunch of teachers. You know, we're eating, and I see these teachers all the time. And then, these teachers are such the consummate professionals, they don't wanna talk to me about any issues that they have, right? They're actually shy about this. So let's make that very clear. They're not asking for something, they're there because they're part of our community. So then I see this one teacher. This teacher wants to talk to me, I can tell. I'm a trial lawyer, I read people, right? But she doesn't really want to talk to me, but then she wants to talk to me, but not really talk to me. So I finally talk to her, right? I draw it out. She's been a temporary teacher for 5 to 6 years. And when I heard that, I was aghast, right? You don't do it like this. There's a process that we do this. Either they're temp and then they go forward, or they're not. It's the process. But you don't hold somebody in there like that. When I heard it from that and how impact it had on their family, I felt that impact. When Billy Joe Wright goes up there and tells you what's going on with his membership, I feel each and every one of their stories. When I say that we collaborate, I'm saying we collaborate. I'm not saying that we talk collaboration, I'm saying that we do collaboration. The one part that I don't understand, and I agree with Mr. Madrano about the safety commission and all that stuff, or committee, I don't want to get into that, I obviously agree. But here's what I don't understand, right? You go to court, you make a representation, but you have to provide corroboration. Substantially, you can't make a conclusory statement, right? So let's take a look at something here. We had an issue before on the bond. And the first person that I found out with respect to the bond was because somebody, who happens to be the president of the Teachers Association, said, the 21st Century Classroom Committee is not meeting on this thing. What's going on with that? By the way, as an aside, I was very happy to hear that we're back on track. Very pleased because of our current superintendent. But that's what happened, and we went through that process, and then we scrambled on that thing, right? Because we were wondering what's gonna happen. Yet all of a sudden, we go through this, and I mentioned the 21st Century Classroom Committee, and this is what I get. I don't get it. What is it that we have to do, at least for myself, to make it clear? Let's use this committee. Let's not give lip service to them. Why can't we be involved with them? In fact, this committee at one time, or at least some of the teachers, I remember went to all these other schools. I went with them to take a look at some of this furniture. They brought in the furniture, and all of a sudden we don't use them here, and then we do this? I don't get it. That's a non sequitur. Unacceptable. Of course, people who know me know that I like the term or the phrase fight on, right? Because it means something to a Trojan. Right? Which, by the way, I'd like the record to reflect that Mr. George's son made the right decision and is making the right decision. I'd also like to reflect that on the record that I accept Mr. Madrano's statement of gratitude. But fight on is great for USC. It's not great for our school district. We don't fight in our school district. We work together in our school district. I was very sad to hear that. And when it comes to certain things of that sort, you don't joke about that. We work together on this. My experience with the Teachers Association, with the current leadership is they just want to make sure that they know what's going on. They want to work. They're not dictating to us what has to be done, but they want to be part of the process. They have to be part of the process. They're the ones in the classroom. We can't have a school district without our teachers, just like we can't have with our classified. I want to recognize Sergio Martinez, who's here. I also want to recognize Manny Rangel. I remember coming through Sacramento, all of a sudden here, quack! Turn around, Manny. A couple of other things. I adore Laura Silva. You know, she's here, she does all these things, she's up early in the morning, she went to that school, she lives in the area, what can I say? Right? Incredible. Because of that, I'll do everything I can to be there on Monday.
Thank you.
And one thing that it did catch my attention was we did the bottle filling station, right? You saw that it was very quick, right? You guys really don't see it as quickly as we do because we actually have the presentation in a hard copy. And I had mentioned that it was good that we have multiple bottle filling stations, but then I recognized immediately as Wedgeworth only has one. Wedgeworth has 600 students, how come Wedgeworth only have one bottle filling station? That's not fair. There's no other school out there that had one. So I bring that up in terms of equity. I did go to the Science Olympiad, and I tell you right now, let me tell you why I love our Science Olympiad. So, other than the obvious fact that that's what they're doing and that's what they're doing there. I liked it because when I went there, they're together. So the first school I saw was La Salette. Then right behind La Salette was Orange Grove. Went next to Orange Grove with Mesa Robles. Right around the corner on this side was Los Altos High School. Up there was Workman High School. Then there was Cedar Lane, and Cervista, and Fairgrove, and Grandview. Extraordinary moment of all that. And I love it when they were together because they're one school district. And of course, congratulations to all of them who did extremely well. And for, I always say this because I have an NBA background, it's really hard to win any tournament, even if there's only 8 teams in it. Imagine all these teams, that Mesa coming out in first place, that's really something, regarding that. It should be celebrated. But, as I've always said, and I always said this before, Mesa doesn't exist with all the other schools that are in their school district, right? So I was very pleased with respect to that. And I think I knew Mr. Freeze,
You probably did.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was a runner and he was a physical specimen.
Correct. Yeah, he was.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
No, you definitely did.
This was a different era of football. I mean, it could never exist today, but he was a tough guy.
Yeah.
So with respect to that, they were tough, but they loved their kids. They would have they would do things today that we can't get away with over there. But at the end of the day, they would run in front of a car for this kid, if that's what happened, because they'd run all the way up to the fire station, right? So with that, I agree, moment of silence. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Serving here is the greatest privilege of my life. Thank you.
Dr. Chang.
Gino is wonderful, very, very decent person and a very knowledgeable person. And he has broken lots of knowledge and professional experience to our school district. And we can see, when he become the board members, and we have so much changes in our school districts. And he's, one and only in the whole history, such a dedicated board members. I really appreciate it that Mr. Park, his that dedication and his sacrifice. Of course, thank you very much for staying so late. It's 11:30. I try to make it short. There's one thing I want to. One thing is about this temporary teachers is I think that we need to process that one faster. We cannot take advantages of those temporary teachers without put them in probation. On the other hand, and because this kind of the delay the probation, and many times we lose good teachers, and they if they don't see the hope become a permanent teacher, and then they'll go out to school district. So we have to be careful in the process. This is much faster than before. And if we see a good teacher, hey, we keep them that long. Hey, we should hire them right away, because otherwise, why you keep them so long? Must be a very good teacher. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I went to this. First thing I really want to say here is all our board members only have one thing in mind, is that we want our students to get a good education and help them to be successful. And I mentioned several times, we don't have anything else, but we wish all the students be successful. And 2 weeks ago, I went to this the Wilson High School. This robotic symposium the demonstration. And the one of this alumni graduated in 2008, and he went to Hardy Mud, and then went to this Minnesota University to study engineering and study this PhD degree. And then later on, his previous classmate asking, hey, let's go to the Sunnyvale, to find opportunities. And he said that because of his education, and seems like he can start working immediately. He doesn't have to go that far. So he and his friend study in Sunnyvale and to start their own company. And of course, at the beginning, there are so many things very difficult. And then they discovered the job opportunity. They got the contract from the Tesla. They also participate in the SpaceX. And all of a sudden, their company becomes hundreds of millions of dollars in the company, and they're on the stock market. And then, of course, later on, he started his own company, and with about 1,000 employees. And he said, when he was a student, he only wanted to make $1 million. And right now, he said, I don't know how much I can make, And I bring it, this is a very inspiring stories, and and I also hope we can let all the students know that if they work hard, they have a tremendous potentials in the future. They should stay to school and use this opportunity to learn really well. And these students, right now, I think. He told me, he said, originally when he was at school, he just wanted to make $1 million a year. And now, he said that right now I can make much more than what I had. He graduated from Wilson 2008. That's amazing. And this is a really good symposium, and lots of display, and also lots of inspiring speakers from Microsoft, and like these our alumni, and also we have this the Monsec, this professor, and the dean of the science department. And I think this is really good, and I hope all the students can attend this one. But what I heard from this organized, this parents said, oh, school teachers won't let us to tell other quadrants of students to attend this one. So I hope this is not true. We should not prohibit the students from learning. We should not. We should try to give any possible possibilities to encourage our students to study hard and to be successful in their studies. Okay, good night.
Thank you, Dr. Chang. I do want to touch on one thing Billy Joe did say, and that's really thank you, Annie, and your team. She came in as interim superintendent, and there are a lot of unresolved issues going on in the district. There's a lot of projects going on in the district, whether it's continuing the school construction projects all throughout the district, whether it's getting our bond back on track, whether it's continuing with the building of Wedgeworth, the building of the new Little League fields, continue to negotiate the sale of the 2 school sites. I mean, we can go on. The La Puente pool that we voted on today. I mean, these are all issues that she walked into. The trustee area maps. There's just so many things, and I really blame the past president for all those. But we need me and Annie to have to resolve all this.
He's joking. He's joking.
He said that before too.
No, but I really have to give a lot of kudos to Annie and the team, and little by little, she's checking off everything, and even as other fires are coming up, she's working hard on it. We had one today, as Laura mentioned, and she was able to resolve it. And so I really do have to give you kudos, Annie, for all the hard work and putting the district on the back on track, because when we all work together, that's what makes us successful, and when we're successful as a district, it makes our kids successful. So I just want to reiterate that. Mr. Free's memorial is going to be on March 21st at 3 p.m., correct? At Los Altos
Yes.
High School. If we can get that information out to the district in some way, that way those who knew him or were his students or in athletics with him, they're able to attend. And with that, we will take a moment of silence. Tono.
Great, thank you. Thank you, board. Thanks to everyone who came out tonight, particularly given the circumstances with the coronavirus. It's been great to see a lot of community engagement. Although this won't be my final board meeting, this will be a notification to you all that I will not be seeking re-election for the 2020 election. I recently become engaged, which I'm very happy about. Plan on spending my life that way. So, although it's not by yet, I just want to put comment on how lucky I've been to spend my life here, going to school, and then just having 5 years on this board. I don't think I could have ever imagined doing something like this. And I hope whatever capacity I've been able to contribute in a positive manner, has been at least impactful. But I just can't say how humbled I am. It's probably one of the more tough decisions I've had to make, but I'm excited about what's next for me. I'll still be around nagging you guys, but I'm looking forward to my future, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madrono. Mr. Del Torre.
Congratulations, Mr. Madrono. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I want you to please know that we're always working and looking up better ways to support our district, our students, our teachers. And I'm sure safety is always our #1 priority. Just know that. So we wouldn't put you in harm's way, just like our students. And so I know our district is working to make sure that if there is a transition in our district, that we provide the least restrictive, I guess, for our students. And I understand, we do provide a warm meal to our students and a safety from, it's their second home. But I want you to know that we're working closely, monitoring any events that might happen, and I want to thank you all, everybody, for being here. And my respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Del Torre. Mr. Falk.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As always, I am very appreciative of everyone that came out. Our world changed very quickly in a short period of time. And I've always thought that a worldwide pandemic was in the history books, but all of a sudden one was declared in our situation. So I do agree with what the esteemed president of HLPTA said, is that they are first responders because they are on the front lines. And so it's classified and SEIU, all of you. And that's why I told the people that are in my life that I'm still going to go to these events to the extent that they're there. That's why I went to Sierra Vista. I was very happy to be there for Read Across America. That's why I went to the middle school honor band. That's why I've been to all these events. And that's why I went to Sacramento. And I was there from Wednesday to Saturday. And there was a speaker here, who was Professor Castelli, saying, well, she should be there or at home with her children. And I totally relate to that because I should be at home with my child. And I wasn't there for that period of time, but I do know that there is a greater good for us all. So on Wednesday, I was there with all the ethnic organizations and the council of presidents. It's the presidents of the ethnic organizations. So there are a lot of things that we're dealing with in that. And then on Friday and Saturday, we were there because we were there as part of a cohort for the Equity Network. And it's been essentially like 8 months that we've been doing this. And it was a very long but very valuable experience. And I'm very pleased that Mr. Dorte was also there for that. And so, you know, it has impacted the way we view equity. And I'm sure that we'll share that as we move forward. Because I was in Sacramento for so long, I spoke to a lot of districts that have been going through this. And one of them is the largest school district in Northern California, which not only closed, but they closed the entire school district. But nobody knew why they did that. But the one part as the reason why it's so valuable for me to sit on the board and the privilege of doing that is because I help our school district. Not about me, it's about our kids. So I asked that school board member what was the situation, and she explained to me there were some serious issues that are there. And even when in court, I'm reading everything I can read on this, and I am getting a lot of direct messages from parents and community members. I mean, they're literally left and right, left and right, left and right. So I'm trying to talk to this judge, and then I'm looking at this, that I need to do prep for a deposition, I'm looking at this. I'm in court, I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to respond at the same time. I will tell you that our human history have never seen not just a suspension, but the cancellation of very, very big events. For the NCAA men's tournament to be canceled, both the men's and women's, that's a big event. That goes to who we are in many ways as a sporting public. And now it's reverberating. Obviously the NBA, who I used to work with, they've suspended. My guess is that it's probably gonna be canceled, right? Although the owners are trying to hold that together.
They said they may put it together in summer.
So, you know, you have all these things that are happening, and I look at everything. I looked at LAUSD as an example, and LAUSD has taken some measures as well. LAUSD, for example, granted their superintendent emergency powers because they declared a state of emergency, but they're keeping their schools open, and one of the reasons why is it was alluded to over here. But you're dealing with the responsibility to these kids, the families that are there, that really don't have access to daycare. You're dealing with academic services. You're dealing with all the other hardships. Where are these kids going to go afterward? They're probably going to congregate anyway. There's really no place else for them to go. And then, of course, the services that we provide, including the meals that our president had indicated. It's all these things. And just so you know, I did ask CSBA to come out with some guidelines. And they have provided some guidelines, although I don't think it goes far enough in terms of really answering the question of what do you do with schools. Do you keep them open, do you close, what's the tipping point? I have an idea what the tipping point would be. I've seen it, I've talked to other board members, so I've seen that part of it. But we are monitoring everything as we go forward. And I will continue to do the best that I can to research this, to see where we're going. It's something that I literally think about every day. And one of the parts that I do think it's important is that we have to, my recommendation is that we have some contingency plan. So what happens if we do this, right? What about online courses? Do we have the capacity to do online courses, right? And because colleges have gone to online learning. Stanford, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego. And so I do know, because I had a chance to speak with our director of network computing services, he's trying very hard to come up with the capacity of that. One of the things that we did pass is a 10 gigabit WAN, which is a wide area network, as well as a 10 gigabyte internet service provider. You know, will that help us, right, in terms of going and do that? And by the way, I think the contingency plan should be a contingency plan that's always going to be there, right? We have to have that. And then where are we gonna? And then we have to not only that, but does every kid have a hotspot? Does every kid have access to a device to get on. We have to work with our teachers. This is an issue that confronts all of us, and I always go back to a foundational bedrock of what this is, which is we have to have collaboration. So when I think about LMT, HLP, we should work together to figure out how we're gonna do it, because it's gonna be the teachers and our support staff that are gonna be delivering anyway, right? So they have to be involved. We have to figure this thing out. I've seen other things where there are school districts that are going through different disinfecting processes. So, especially dealing with commonly used surfaces, right? And keeping it up. I'll tell you another thing. So I was speaking to another school district in Orange County, and she told me that the Orange County superintendents of school districts are communicating directly with the Orange County Department of Education. And I've looked at this. I asked CSBA, if we do close, I want ADA protection, right? And when I've read, and it took me a long time to figure this out, right now the only ADA protection is that if in fact you have a health department that tells you about this, then it'll be protected. But if you take it as a precautionary, it doesn't fit within the guideline. Now, is that gonna change? Don't know, but that's what it is right now. So that's the level that I've actually looked at this. I will continue to go ahead and do that. I'm very, very sympathetic about something that was said. If we're gonna work together, we have to work together. I've said this before, right? Talking the talk is one thing, you have to walk the walk. The one thing, and I'm not privy to what's going on, but it would seem to me that what I had heard from the president of the Teacher Association is he wasn't saying that he wants it this way or the highway. What he's saying is, where's the collaboration? We should be able to at least agree to the interpretation of the ed code regarding this. And it seems to me that he and his leadership is trying to help us with this. And that's the way I see it. And I wonder why we can't go ahead and do that. I would like to go ahead and see that. I wouldn't like it to be here, there, and everything. It should be a global resolution, because then you would have individual teachers come back and say, well, was the right standard applied? But you can't really apply a standard unless you agree to a standard. And if there's a disagreement and it's bona fide, then resolve the disagreement. I don't see anything from the teachers saying that they're now willing to resolve that, right? So I view that as good faith and fair dealing. I hope that we're able to go ahead and do that. And I look forward to that happening. And I said this before, that whenever you have a child and the child goes through the transportation and the child is late for whatever reason, that they should at least be notified. Now, I don't know whether or not that's happening or what the protocol is, so I just leave it at that. But there should be some sort of, I know that I would be very concerned if my child was an hour late and I had no idea what was going on. I thank Dr. Chang for looking at that board policy. I've never seen so much red in my life. But I'm glad I won't have to look at it later. And whenever you have somebody that is new, you always wonder, what's the new kid gonna be like? How is that person gonna govern? Does that person share your values? Is that person someone that's thoughtful, that has a commitment to public service and public policy, and is willing to do everything that is the right thing to do in order to serve their constituents? And I cannot tell you how far Mr. Madrano exceeded any reasonable expectation. I did not know Mr. Madrano before he was elected. I did see him because he had worked for Assembly Member Ian Calderon, but I didn't know him well. And he thanked the board members for being here and treating him as a respected colleague, but I have to thank Mr. Madrano for his service. It has been nothing short of exemplary, and in many ways I feel it's a loss to our community, because he is a representative and a member of our community. He grew up here. He cares deeply about issues, and I've seen him do that. And for somebody at his age to go ahead and do that, I have not seen that very often. So I commend your service. It has been truly outstanding, and I congratulate you on your engagement. That's a big deal as well. I usually say that he's the luckiest person in the world, but I think she's lucky as well, just because of my feelings and thought about Mr. Medrano as well as his family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kwok. Dr. Chang.
Yeah, I got so many things that I like the detail Mr. Kwok mentioned about. First is congratulations to Mr. Madrano. You are indeed a good board members, and at this young early stage, you're willing to sacrifice your valuable time to serve on this board and establish so many things and accomplish so many things. You're a great guy.
Thank you. Moving on.
And for me, continue to run.
No more.
You're good. But you probably go up the higher position. And we are board members on this school board, and we serve the whole school district. Even though this redistrict is trustee area, but in all our heart, we want to serve all the students in our school district. Just like Mr. Kwok mentioned about, he represented the whole. Same Mr. Latorix mentioned about, even though in the future he will be elected by that area, but it doesn't mean he is not a board member of the whole school district, and he will continue work hard for our whole school district. And Ms. Kwok had mentioned it before, this is a very valuable asset to our school district, and with his protection, I think we have done lots of good things for our school district. But about this facility policy, I disappoint you didn't say anything. Well, anyway. And another thing is, last week I was busy on the radar across America, and my gosh, I just don't know how to motivate those fourth grader or third grader students to read. I try very hard, but I think I need teachers to do it. They can do much better job. I just get the idea across. In the middle school, I have a little bit luck. I think it is pretty good. I enjoy it very much, and especially students ask many questions, and you can see their eyes, they're very bright and very sharp, and keep thinking about it. Many things I have never thought of before. During the last week visit, there's one embarrassing moment. It happened to be the nutrition time. There's a little girl came to me. Can you help me to peel this orange? Because of nutrition time, they keep the fruits, I think, right? Because nutrition time. I said, I can. Because we should wash our hands first, right? To eat. But surprisingly, nobody wash hands. Everybody just grab the fruit and eat. That is one thing I think Mrs. Javier, you have established those memo and procedures, policies throughout the whole school district. Maybe that will not be executed, throughout the whole school district. Some schools may not follow that one. I believe, when you eat something, and the student should be trained to have a habit, wash their hand first, right? Before you started the nutrition time, and maybe the food service people should mention to the student, you have to wash your hand before you can get the food. in that government to Washington. For this
Where you're cooking.
I don't know. I don't know whether you maybe I'd suggest that since if you have time, maybe you can sample in each school during this routine time or during the lunchtime, and we check how many students actually wash their hands, and it can prevent this virus significantly. According to all the doctors, they will come in that one. And there's another one is in here is Billy Joe mentioned about these teachers are role models, and the students try to learn everything, from teachers. And actually, I feel that students, just like our own children, they learn everything from you. So they learn from custodians, classified employees, from the teachers, administrators, and board members as well. And everything they see, they always will make a comparison. And last board meeting, I got it so upset. It is it gets emotional. It's not upset. Emotional is I feel that somebody will not pay tax and make it a profit on our school side, and our school district did not stop it, and I feel shame of our school district. How can our school district be a role model of our students if they violated the law and we still help them to operate on our school properties? So that's why I get emotional, because we have to be very careful. Every one of us, are the role models of our students. So we have to do it right, and we have to be very careful about what we do. Because hopefully we can give our students all the good influence. And about this superintendent search, I already have actually, I already have this thought, like Mr. Wright. Is this a good time to make a change? And also, there's lots of risk whether we can get a good one or not. And currently, it runs, and everything is going very smoothly. Especially right now, we have several crises ahead of us, and the big bond project we are really for the accountable. So if everything goes the way it is, and I'm pretty sure we can overcome all those difficulties. And unless we can make 100% sure we will get somebody better, and I think the current interim superintendent can still continue operate our school district. And with the chief business officer to work on the interim superintendent, is that possible? Yeah, it happened before in the RP. I think John Kramer, he was chief business officer, and he was also become the interim superintendent of the whole school district. I hope that we finish this bond project and finish this crisis in here, and make the major changes and solve the problem. Then we can start to look around, and with less risk of finding superintendent. And last time, I think I did experience one time that we changed the superintendent, and that superintendent come to the school board. Our school district mainly is for our construction money, bond money. So that is this risk I don't want. That is kind of things I don't want to see it happen. I prefer to play it safe. Okay, thank you very much for all these members coming here, and good night. See you next time.
And I also want to thank the community for being here tonight. It's 10:30. It's late, so we appreciate you being here, staying through the meeting. And then you just ask for patience. From everything we're hearing from health officials, from state officials, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And the district's working hard to get as much information out to the community as possible and using various modes of communication to make sure we get that. So we're using social media, we're using physical letters, we're using the telephone system. If we're not using the marquees, we should be using the marquees and our website. So we're trying to get information out as quickly as possible. And so as we continue to move forward in the weeks to come, hopefully things will improve. But we can expect more things to be canceled. And so we'll get through this together. It's a tough time, not just here, but in the nation and across the world. I mean, there's been so many deaths already from this, and the more we can find out who actually has it and get that testing out there and get those people quarantined and people living in interacting with quarantined, we can help stop the spread. But until that happens, we have to take a lot of these precautions. So thank you for being patient with us. Thanks staff, because I know it's almost changing on a daily with our staff, and I think with hopefully with the partnership with HLPTA and Billy, we can continue to do outreach to our teaching staff and our classified staff and with the partners in SAU and CC as well to remind staff, wash your hands every hour as often as you can, especially interacting with our students. A lot of our teachers do this already. We know that our teachers are exposed to so many different kinds of germs throughout the year. So this is something not new to a lot of our teachers. They're washing their hands and they're hand sanitizing. I was at a school site for principal for a day, and the teacher pulled out a box of these hand sanitizers. She goes, "Well, I've been doing this for the last 10 years because I always end up getting sick from one of my students." And so she's like, "I'm prepared." And but just also now, it's not just the staff taking care of their own hand washing and sanitizing. It's making sure we get those kids in line before you head out to recess, before you head out to lunch, because we know we can't always count on our kids doing it themselves. So making sure that, it may take an extra 5 minutes out of instruction time, but we need to just start getting this habit where the students are doing that, and our students are smart, even down to the preschool and kindergarten level. We were giving out awards, and not one student wanted to give a high five or handshake. They were all giving a little elbow high five, and they were doing it on their own because they knew already that they're not supposed to be touching, shaking hands and giving high fives right now. So, if we continue to train our students to live in this new reality, they'll get it, and I think they will get it quickly. And so we just need to continue to push that message to our staff, but also to our students, so when they're not here on campus. I also want to congratulate Mr. Medrano on his engagement. I don't have as much praise for you as Gino did, but we'll get to all that later in the year.
Later.
Yeah. Now's not the
later. No, not time.
You don't deserve it right now. But again, congratulations on your engagement. I know that was a tough decision for you to make. Not the engagement, whether or not to seek re-election on the board.
You better let that get out. It's gonna be trouble.
So, and with that, we have our next board meeting on March 26th, 6:30 here. And I think as far as we had events listed on the agenda, but those have been canceled, postponed. So we'll see everybody here on the 26th. Again, reminder, if you don't feel well, and I think we saw it tonight, it wasn't as big of a tent that we've been seeing in the last couple board meetings. We recommend you stay home. We do care about everyone's health, and we care about our health, so please stay home if you don't feel well. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Medrano, second by Dr. Chang. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. We do have signatures.